I'd like to start off by talking about a few memories that specific memories that I have with you, one-on-one time, or things that I was present for that you did or were involved with. So, one of my biggest memories, Dad, is of you coming straight to our baseball games there at Pico Park. You could tell you were exhausted. You were in your slacks and your polo shirt, so we knew you came straight from work. But nevertheless, despite your exhaustion, you came straight from work to be there for us, and that meant a lot to us. It meant a lot to me. And one of my favorite memories growing up was when we went to the the USC Arkansas game down at the Coliseum. That was a real treat for me, and it's something I'll remember forever. Remember, I was the only son that was able to go. I think we went with Darren and Paul and Dwayne, and that was really fun for me. So thank you for taking me there. Something funny. I remember when William threw up on your back. But I just remember you had taken the time to read to William. I mean, you're reading to him. He was on your back, and all of a sudden he throws up on you. But the main thing here is that you had taken the time to be with your son and read to him. Dad, you told me at least once a day, every day when I was a kid, that I was a good boy. I'm getting kind of teary-eyed thinking about it. But when I was a kid, I had such a bad temper that when you would tell me that, it meant a lot to me. You would always play catch with me whenever I asked if Michael wasn't around, or if I just wanted to play catch with you, even if your shoulder hurt. I remember when I was a kid, probably like 2 or 3, maybe 4. You had a mustache for a while, and then you shaved it off. I remember one morning when I was still half awake, I saw you and I didn't recognize you, and I said, "Who are you?" And I thought that was a fun memory. I think you remember that. I remember after football games, you would always try and help me with my defense on the car ride home, and I didn't have the instinct. Wasn't very too good at defense, but it meant a lot to me that you would take the time and to talk to me about it and want to help me improve. I remember going to countless minor league baseball games with you, a couple Angel games and Dodger games. That time your car got broken into, or somebody stole credit cards out of your car, your truck, and that's not a good memory. But we were at a Dodger game. And even as an adult, you've taken me to minor league baseball games before. I'm looking at a list. That's why I keep shifting my gaze here. So one thing that we all know Dad is famous for, that you're famous for, Dad, is telling your stories of your youth that are always triggered by driving by some David Land related landmark in the Inland Empire. Things like Little League home runs. One of my favorite stories is when you hit a home run but the ump called a foul, and then you hit another one, either the next bat or that same at bat. It was clearly a home run, and then when you reach home plate, you turn to the ump and say, "Was that one foul too? Was that foul too, ref?" I love that story. I love it when you talk about word boundaries or where your friends used to live, old church building locations, and how everything used to be orange groves. I know we always give you a hard time for saying them over and over again, but I've always actually secretly loved it. I love knowing about who you are, getting to know you a little better. You took us to hike. You and Mom took us to hike the Narrows when we were teenagers. That to this day has been one of my most favorite outdoor memories with you and with the family. was a great experience for me. Fathers and son campouts. Those are always amazing. I remember one time I said, when I was a kid, I said I like fathers and sons outings because I could burp and fart without saying "excuse me." And I remember you thought it was so funny, and it made me so happy that I made you laugh. Um, Little silly things like that time that you, me, and Grandpa were all asleep on the church stand, up on the stand behind the podium. I thought that was pretty funny. Or one time when I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old. I think we were in your old Mazda. No, maybe not. Maybe we were at the new house by then. But we were driving. I guess that'd be north on Oak Glen, and we came to the turn on onto Cherrywood, and I was on your lap, and I was actually steering. You had let me steer, and I remember I freaked out when I came to the turn because I didn't know what to do. And you just held my arms down and made the turn for me, but I still remember that. Another thing is when you'd always pull my teeth. I thought that was pretty cool. I couldn't do it myself, and I remember you would always pull them and I wouldn't even feel it. And then one time I remember you actually pulled one of my teeth by the water fountains near the primary room in the church building. And so you pulled a tooth of mine at church. I thought that was pretty cool. Watching college football with you on Saturday was one of my favorite things to do in high school. During the afternoon, I loved it because you would give your commentary and I would learn and I would give my own input, and you would actually listen to what I had to say and tell me that I was right, or you would rewind it and say, "Thomas, did you see that?" And I loved that. Family Disneyland trips were my favorite growing up. I know you guys saved every year so that we could go. Father's blessings meant a lot to me every single year before school. I remember that Led Zeppelin concert that you have recorded. We watched it over and over. I think I've probably seen clips of that on probably about 5 or 6 separate occasions. And then years of going to priesthood session with you. I remember I would always fall asleep, and then you start scratching my back and say, "Hey, Tommy, wake up." Going to the barbecue afterwards. I always looked forward to those weekends. I know a lot of times I didn't show it too much growing up, but I was always really excited to do things with you, even though I might have been either too proud or too cool to say so. There's a lot of things that you taught me directly by showing me, taking time to actually teach me skills, like throwing a baseball, shining my shoes, changing a tire, how to tie a tie. Taught me to love classic rock. Whenever you'd buy a CD or look a song up on YouTube, you would say, "Hey, Tommy, Tom, come over here. Tomasito, come over here and check this out, or come listen to this." And I loved it. Still do. You taught me how to mow the lawn, do yard work. There's always one more pile. I know how much a nice lawn meant to you, and I know how exhausted you got during the week. So whenever it was my turn to mow the lawn, I really always tried to make it look nice for you, because you work so hard for us. I loved it when you would pick me up when I was still light enough and put me in the on top of all the leaves on the grass to stomp. That was my favorite thing. I was a stomper. Things that you taught me indirectly by example. I think that's where your biggest legacy lies. You taught us how to work hard for a family. You taught us how to serve, me in particular, how to serve faithfully in the church and live the gospel in the home efforts to have FHE or family prayer. I know those didn't always go as smoothly as you would have liked, but some of my best family memories when we were just messing around together are some of my best memories as a family. By serving in your calling, when any calling you're ever given, you always did it the best you could, and by doing your home teaching or visiting teaching, whatever guys do, I still can't remember. But you led by example. You showed us by example how to serve faithfully in the church. You taught me how to love my family, how to treat my wife, how she should be treated, how to be a good husband, but also how to push her buttons, how to tease her a little bit, kind of like you do to mom, and I think it's hilarious. Every time you do that, I would crack up, and I couldn't help it. I never questioned if you had a testimony of the gospel. You always were very clear. You bore your testimony to us countless times of your testimony of the Savior. And I think that helped me so much growing up. You also taught me how to be wise with money. I am cheap at times, but I think the big thing there is that you taught me how to be wise. Not to be wasteful, and to purchase something if it's worth it, because some things are worth it, whether for enjoyment or out of necessity. Taught me to be frugal, things like that. Taught me to appreciate extended family as well by taking us to countless family parties, and always making time for your own family, even when you were tired, you could have been resting. Even to this day, you still go to family parties when you're tired. Other little random things that I loved growing up were the Poor Old Jazzies game. I'm going to teach Cambria that as soon as I can. And of course, Dad is great because he gives us chocolate cake. Every time we pull into the gas station, you say, "Gotta get a goodie at the gas station." And then growing up, I named one of my goldfish David after you because I wanted him to have a good name. And I admired you so much. I still do. I'm sure if I sat and thought about it long enough, I could come up with 50 more memories of, things that have made me happy or things that I remember about you. Those are some of the ones that I thought of and wrote down recently, and wanted to some of the messages that I wanted to give to you and then share with you. That I love you. No matter what you may think, you always made time for us. Us kids growing up, I never felt neglected. I never felt that you were absent. And I just want to say how much that means to me. I'm kind of, tearing up here as I'm sharing it, but I just thank you. I love you.